Welcome back once again, all my low carb friends, and for those of you who are here for the first time, welcome. Today I have another very easy keto meal recipe for you. Today I am going to show you how to make quick and simple keto empanadas. Now for those of you who don't know what an empanada is, it's basically the same thing as a meat pie. It's meat or vegetables or a combination of both wrapped up, folded up into the center of a mini pie crust, basically. That's what it is. It's very good and very easy to make. So if you want a printable version of this recipe, you can check out my website at janet'sdeliciouslowcarbkitchen.com. You can find a printable version of this recipe and other goodies there for you. And if you're new to the channel and you want to see lots of easy, delicious, low-carb keto recipes, make sure you click that subscribe button and click the notification bell that's right next to the subscribe button. That way you can be notified every time I put out videos, at least every Wednesday and Saturday. And if you'd like to help support the channel, make sure you scroll down in the description of the video. You'll see some affiliate links. Anytime you purchase anything using those affiliate links, a small portion of your purchase will go to me and help support the channel. So while you do all that, let's get cooking. Preheat an air fryer to 350 degrees, or if you don't have an air fryer, you can preheat your oven to 425 degrees. Lightly spray your air fryer basket, or if you're using your oven, line a large baking sheet with parchment paper, then set them aside for a minute. In a large mixing bowl, combine 168 grams or around 1.5 cups of coconut flour, a half teaspoon of salt, a 1/4 teaspoon of xanthan gum or psyllium husk powder. This is to help keep your dough flexible so when you go to shape the empanadas, your dough won't fall apart on you. If you want to, you can add some dry spices or dry seasonings to help tone down any coconut flour taste. That's up to you. I'm leaving mine just as it is. Sift the dry ingredients all together until everything is fully combined and there are no lumps in the dry ingredients. Add 4 large room temperature eggs. Make sure they are room temperature so that they stir in more smooth. If you don't have eggs or you don't want to use eggs, you can use flax or chia eggs. Stir the eggs into the dry ingredients until everything is fully combined and all the dry ingredients are moist. Add 1 cup of very soft room temperature butter. Make sure it is very soft, not melted, but you do want it to be very soft so that it's easier to mix in. Stir the butter in until everything is fully combined. I like to cut my butter into small pieces. It's just easier to mix in that way. It also comes to room temperature much faster if you cut it into small pieces. Also, if you want to keep this dairy-free, along with using the flax or chia eggs, you can substitute the butter for margarine or any dairy-free butter substitute. As you're stirring the butter in, if it seems like it's not combining as well as it needs to, because it can be a little bit stiff, just use your fingers and massage the butter in until everything is fully combined and a crumbly dough has formed. Scrape down the sides of the bowl and push the dough to the center of the bowl. Use your hands or the back of a wooden spoon and press the dough pieces together until they form a ball. Then take the dough ball in your hands and massage the dough in your hands for about 1 minute or until a smooth dough forms. When you first start massaging the dough, it's going to feel a little bit crumbly and a little bit stiff. But as you continue to massage it, it's going to soften and it's going to come together and form a nice, smooth dough ball. If after you've massaged it for a minute, if it still feels like it's not coming together and it still feels crumbly and dry, then just add a small amount of room temperature water or milk until the dough comes together and forms a soft dough and holds its shape well. Just be careful not to add too much liquid to this. This is going to be a more stiff, a little bit more of a drier dough than what you might be used to. After you've massaged the dough for about a minute and you have a nice smooth, firm dough that's formed, form it back into a ball and place it back into your mixing bowl. If you've used the flax or chia eggs instead of the traditional eggs, then you'll need to let your dough sit for about 5 minutes or so that it can absorb any extra moisture and the binding agents can start sitting well together. If you've just used traditional eggs, you don't have to do that. Divide your dough into about 7 to 8 portions, depending on how big you're wanting your empanadas to be. I did 8 portions. Line a clean work surface with parchment paper. I'm using my tortilla press, so I'm just lining my tortilla press with parchment paper. Lightly sprinkle a little bit of coconut flour over your work surface. Place one dough portion onto the center of your work surface and lightly coat the dough portion with just a little light texture of coconut flour. Don't go too heavy on this. You just want a little light coating over the outside of the dough portion. This is just going to help your dough release easily. This dough, the thinner it's rolled out, the more sticky and moist it becomes. So you do need a little bit of flour underneath that dough portion in order for it to release easily from the paper. Once your dough portion is lightly coated with the coconut flour, cover it with another piece of parchment paper. This will help prevent any dough sticking to your rolling pin or your tortilla press in my case. Then roll or press your dough out to a 6 to 7 inch circle that's around an 8-inch thick, or whatever size empanada you want to make. You can adjust this bigger or smaller. If you want to make empanaditas and make little appetizer empanadas, you can do that. Just roll it out to about a 3 to 4 inch circle instead of a 6 to 7 inch circle. 6 to 7 inches is your traditional size, which is what I'm making. Once you're done rolling the portion out, then make sure you keep it on your parchment paper and then set it aside. Keep repeating the rolling process until all the portions of your dough are rolled out to that 6 to 7 inch circle, or again, whatever size you're wanting. Once your portions are all rolled out, take one of the rolled portions of dough and scoop about 1/3 cup of the filling of your choice off to one side of the dough circle. You don't want this directly in the middle. You want it kind of off to one side. Leave a little bit of space around the edge so that you can easily seal up your empanada. Once you have your desired amount of filling, then pick up the sides of the parchment paper that your dough is on and carefully fold the sides together until the dough is completely folded over the filling. Make sure you use that parchment paper to kind of guide your dough. It'll make it a whole lot easier if you do it that way. Once you have the dough over the filling, dampen your hands and your fingers and press the edges of the dough together until they are completely sealed. You want to make sure that the seam is completely sealed, no cracks at all. When you're folding the dough over, if it cracks or comes apart or anything like that, just dampen your hands and press it right back together again and it'll be just fine. This is a fragile dough, so it can crack easily or it can come apart a little bit easily. It's not going to ruin anything. Just press it all back together. Make sure you keep it nice and smooth. If there are any cracks, just dampen your fingers or dampen your hand and rub out the cracks. Keep it nice and smooth. Now you can use any filling you want, meat, vegetables, combination, both, whatever you want, you can put in this. I'm just using some leftover shredded pork with a little bit of salsa, and then I sprinkle a little bit of cheese on top of it once I've put it inside of the empanada shell. Just make sure whatever filling that you are using, make sure it is pre-cooked, especially with meat. You cannot put raw meat in the middle of this and expect it to get cooked. It will not get cooked. So make sure that your filling is pre-cooked. Then repeat the folding and filling process until all of your dough portions have been filled and sealed. Once your empanada is filled and sealed, brush the outside of it on both sides with some egg wash or some olive oil. I'm just using some cooking spray and spraying both sides of it and then using a brush to brush it across. Then place the empanada into your air fryer basket or onto your prepared baking sheet, whichever one you're using. When you are placing the empanadas into your air fryer basket or on your baking sheet, make sure you keep them in a single layer with some space between each one of the empanadas. So you might need to use more than one baking sheet, and depending on how big your air fryer is, you might need to cook your empanada in more than just one batch. If you're cooking these in an air fryer, place them in your preheated air fryer at 350 degrees. Cook them for about 5 to 7 minutes or until they are golden. If you're baking these in the oven, place them in your preheated oven at 425 degrees and bake them for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they are golden. Once the empanadas are cooked, if you're using the air fryer, then open the air fryer and let the empanadas just sit inside your air fryer basket for about 3 to 5 minutes so they can firm up and so that you don't burn your fingers. If you're baking them on the baking sheet, then after you remove them from the oven, also allow them to sit on the baking sheet for about 3 to 5 minutes so they can firm and cool a little bit. After about 3 to 5 minutes, use a spatula and transfer your empanadas onto the serving plate of your choice. You serve these immediately. If you do have any leftovers, allow them to cool completely and store them in an airtight container in your refrigerator for up to 3 days, or wrap them individually and place them in a freezer-safe bag or a freezer-safe container, and you can freeze them for up to 3 months. If you do store these to use them for later, to reheat them, if you want to keep them crispy, then you can reheat them in your air fryer at 275 degrees. If they're frozen, for 7 to 10 minutes or until they're heated through. If they're not frozen, you can put them in your air fryer for 4 to 5 minutes or until they're heated through. You can also reheat them in your oven at 300 degrees on a lined baking sheet for about 10 minutes if they're frozen, or 5 to 7 minutes if they're not frozen, or until they're heated through. Either way, however you choose to eat them and reheat them, eat and enjoy.
And that's our recipe of the day. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you want to see more videos like this, make sure you click that thumbs up like button, click that subscribe button, leave me a comment if you want to. Let me know if there's any recipes that you'd like to learn how to make, and I'll do what I can to get those out there for you. And as always, keep cooking.